a lot more about. So today we're going to talk about what is the Navy Yard Skills Initiative, our partnership with the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, or WIPSI. We'll do what everybody's here for. We'll do that deep dive into the Tastykake as a business and those production roles. We'll talk about what it means to commit to this production associate program. I'll also talk about the application process. Many of you might be in that kind of contemplation phase right now, thinking about, do you want to apply? Do you want to learn more? Some of you may have already submitted an application, and we'll talk about what those next steps are. And then I think most importantly, what we'll do is we are going to have some time to talk with a Tastykake staff person, and we'll hear from them about what this job role is as a production associate, and also open it up for Q&A so you can ask your own questions and stuff maybe that we didn't touch on, but you're interested in, both from a programmatic perspective, but also that employer perspective with Tastykake. And Jen will be monitoring the chat and also supporting me throughout this. And as she just wrote, feel free to use the chat to ask questions throughout the information session. You can also feel free to unmute yourself and ask a specific question during the slide. That is totally fine. Everyone's muted right now. And if you feel comfortable at the end, definitely turn on your camera so we can see your face. It's likely if you're submitting an application that we'll interview you. So it's always nice to connect that name on the application to the face that we interview in starting next week. Great. So let's start by just talking a little bit about PIDC's Navy Yard Skills Initiative. I'll read the mission statement here, right? Our whole goal is to create training programs that connect Philadelphia residents to permanent employment down at the Navy Yard. We've been doing this work for a little over a year and a half now down at the Navy Yard, and we work directly with employers down at the Navy Yard specifically and participants. And our whole goal is connecting employers to the talent that they need and participants to opportunities that maybe they never heard about before or haven't been able to access. And as you'll hear throughout this presentation, our whole goal is really to train and connect Philadelphia residents to those full-time permanent employment opportunities that we believe are quality jobs. And one thing to note too, as we go through this presentation, take careful inventory of the imagery. I was really selective in creating this presentation in trying to have folks start to envision what this production associate role is. Not all of the images are directly from Tastykake, but they are folks in this kind of advanced manufacturing food production role. So start to take an inventory, and if you are a job seeker or have already applied, start thinking, can you see yourself in this work environment doing some of the things that you see in the images throughout this presentation? As I said earlier, this work that we do is in partnership with the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, and it's truly an expansion of their work down to the Navy Yard. West Philadelphia Skills Initiative, or WIPSI, that WPSI word that you see in the top left of your screen, has been doing this work for over 10 years, not only in West Philadelphia, but throughout the city. And this work means partnering with an employer and alternately connecting Philadelphians to job opportunities. On the screen, you can see some of the employers that the Skills Initiative has worked with, most notably SEPTA, Penn Medicine, the University of Penn, and then some of our Navy Yard employers too, Philly Shipyard, Tastykake, as well as some other regional employers. But the idea here is that the work that we do is real, it's important, and employers are supporting it, and we're connecting Philadelphians to opportunities that maybe they never knew about or haven't been able to compete for in the past. And we do this work in a couple ways, right? First, what we do is we work with an employer, right? We work with an employer to match the employer needs and job seeker needs. We do a deep dive with employers to understand their roles just as well as they do, and alternately think what that ideal candidate profile is, who's that job seeker that could be really successful in this role. And then what we do is we build that customized training program. We think about what it takes to be successful. We think about the professional development. We use all that information that we got from the employer to really design a program that sets folks up for success, not only with the employer partner, but throughout their professional career. And then we spread the word to everybody. We want everyone to know about these opportunities down at the Navy Yard and in West Philadelphia and around the region and around the city, right? We cast a wide net, not only with community organizations, workforce organizations, elected officials, but really anybody who wants to get connected to a quality job, participate in a training program. That's who we want to reach. And I think, this information session is part of that spreading the word. We don't want to pull punches here. We want you to know exactly what you're getting into, and we want you to apply to the program if you're interested, but we also want to share information about the program if you think someone else can benefit from it. And then what we do, right? We find those participants who are interested in this work. We bring them on into our program as short as 3 weeks as we think about this production associate role, and we make that connection to the employer. And what the data says is that folks that successfully complete our program are getting hired by the employer partner. So in this case, Tastykake, right? What the data says is that of the folks that complete our production associate program in partnership with Tastykake, 95% of those participants who complete that 3-week training program will get connected to employment with Tastykake. And we feel good about that, right? This is the part where we like to brag, but the work that we do is real. It's a short-term ask to ask someone to participate in a 3-week training program to likely that 95% to get connected to that employment opportunity. And again, feel free to use the chat if you have any questions about the work that we do or how we do it. The next part of the Prezi is talking really about the Tastykake employer, Tastykake as an employer, and what this opportunity is in the production associate role. Great. So let's learn a little bit more about Tastykake, right? I think we're all probably familiar in some way or level about who Tastykake is. We've either enjoyed their cakes or heard about them, or maybe even been down to the Navy Yard. I think before I do the deeper dive into who Tastykake is, I'd like you to take note of this map that's on your left side of the screen. For folks who don't know about the Navy Yard, it is on the southernmost point of Philadelphia. If you're looking at this map and you follow, folks can watch my cursor, right? This is Broad Street. If you follow Broad Street all the way down past the stadiums, you will land in the Navy Yard. And Tastykake is on a certain parcel of land at the Navy Yard off 26th Street. So not only is Tastykake accessible from Southwest Philadelphia via 26th Street, it's also accessible right down Broad Street. And a little bit about Tastykake. With over 100 years of baking experience creating iconic tasty cakes in Philadelphia, Tasty Baking Company is now owned by Flour Foods Corporation. And they operate one of the most efficient and technologically advanced manufacturing, food production, and distribution facilities at the Navy Yard. Again, I'd like you to check out those images, right? Baking looks a little different at Tastykake when we're in an advanced manufacturing facility and we are outputting as many pies as Tastykake does. As we all know, they've been a snack favorite since 1914, and the Tastykake brand is celebrated for its complete line of snack cakes, pies, donuts, including those iconic brands that we all know, like the Crimpets, the Candy Cakes, and the Juniors. A little bit about the Flour Foods Corporation. Flour's Food Corp is one of the largest producers of packaged bakery foods in the United States. The company operates 46 highly efficient bakeries that produce a wide range of bakery foods, including Tasty Baking Company at the Navy Yard. And they operate one of the world's largest LEED certified bakeries. And despite having a highly advanced and efficient bakery, it still requires hundreds of workers to support the production of goods. And I think one of the things that I want to note here, thanks, Jen. I think one of the things that I want to note here, not only is what is your favorite Tastykake, but also thinking about what it means to work for Tastykake. Not only is this a large employer that hires hundreds of employees, they're part of a larger corporation in that Flour Foods Corp that owns and operates many facilities and many iconic brands throughout the country. So if you're eventually hired by Tastykake, or someone that's hired by Tastykake, they're part of a larger organization or corporation that has a quality name behind it. So again, thinking about what does it mean? I see pies in the chat. I see the honey bun, one of my favorite. The Juniors, excellent. gotta be the crimpets for me, Josh Park says. I think the other one that is new to my palate is the Coconut Junior. I had that for the first time over the summer and absolutely amazing. The next thing that I'm going to do is some of these favorite cakes are rolling in. We're going to show a video, and this video again is to have folks really start to understand what this production associate role is, and so they can start seeing what it might look like to work in this advanced manufacturing facility. So the next slide, we'll watch a little under a 3-minute video and really start thinking about yourself in this production associate role, and if this is a work environment that you can see yourself in. I see Honey Bun just came in and Butterscotch Crimpet.
Well, for the fans out there, a Tastykake is simply a delicious treat many have enjoyed since childhood.
But when you unwrap that confection, chances are you never thought about the science and the secrets behind it. And tonight, we take you inside the bakery where the Philly originals are made.
You see that nice waterfall of chocolate?
You know what they say.
Nobody bakes a cake as tasty as a Tastykake.
Tastykake has been a Philadelphia original since 1914. But there's a lot more than just sugar and flour that goes into making these treats.
We're baking to a very precise formula, precise temperature, and so we've got to change the heat. We go out a little bit, make sure we change the water. We've got to account for all those variables: humidity, temperature, water, and so there's a lot of science behind it.
To find out how they do it, we suited up, hairnet and all, for special access to the Tastykake Bakery in South Philadelphia.
I think this is where all the fun happens.
The bakery is in production 5 to 6 days a week with 3 shifts around the clock. Tastykake President Paul Ritter acted as our guide. Peanut butter candy cakes were our goal. It all starts with the cake batter.
So we're able to, with our ovens, as the cake travels up and down through it, to exactly control the temperature and the way it bakes, to get just the right amount of air in it, because the amount of air that's in it really gives it good flavor.
I was going to say, and does that affect the fluffiness of it?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Bakers test the volume and weight of the batter every 15 minutes to make sure it's just right. Once the cake's cool, it's time for the good stuff.
We use enough peanut butter to make about 8 million peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a year.
That peanut butter is made from a special recipe just for Tastykake. From there, the cakes head under a chocolate waterfall.
We essentially bathe them in chocolate. We cover the top, and then we actually puddle it up from the bottom.
Covered in warm chocolate, the cake goes through a long cooling tunnel, which dips down to 40 degrees, making them crunchy.
Feel that and try and crack it in half. You'll notice
Oh yeah, it's much harder.
it's a lot harder because it's actually cool. It's about 40 degrees. And so we get it nice and cold. You can't eat that out here, I'm sorry.
Throughout the process, a series of electronic eyes keeps watch over the cakes.
If it doesn't identify 2 candy cakes in that pack perfectly right with the seal, it'll pick it off.
The good ones continue down the line and into boxes. Next stop, store shelves.
It takes about half an hour from the time we deposit to the time they're ready to be sold.
Between the chocolate and the peanut butter, there's a lot of history sandwiched in these treats.
Our customers are fanatical about our product, and they don't ever want it to change. And so we've got to balance that. Don't do anything different with do something new at the same time to keep them interested, to keep them excited.
And to keep them coming back for more.
And everybody has
Great. So I hope that provided kind of a realistic.
a favorite,
Uh-oh.
obviously.
Yes.
We've talked about this.
Well, for the
There we go. So I hope that provided a realistic preview for everyone and a sneak peek inside of advanced manufacturing production facility. And now what I want to do is really talk about this production role. Again, this is a program. The production associate program is designed to connect you or potentially connect you to this role. So as you're sitting through this presentation, start to think, can I meet the demands? Am I interested in doing the things that the production role demands, right? And a couple things, right? Tasty Baking Company production associates start at $14.60 an hour on a part-time basis. The production associates are guaranteed 3 work days and no less than 22.5 hours a week, right? So again, as you start thinking about this, all production associates start in this part-time capacity. Typically, production associates transition to full-time employment in less than a year and can bid for extra hours, creating a full-time schedule after their 2-week training period. And that's one of the things to note as well. And we'll dive a little deeper on the next slide, is that most folks start in this part-time capacity, but they're creating a full-time schedule by bidding for extra hours. Production associates report to a production lead and supervisor and will be responsible for setting up, loading mixers for daily production runs and operating production line equipment, in addition to making batches, mixes according to those production schedules. Individuals in this title follow recipes and product specifications. They gather icing and fillings from the storage area line and inspect for proper specifications. Persons in this production associate title may also operate a variety of hand tools, clean and prepare production lines, and operate a forklift once trained by Tasty. This title requires frequent standing and lifting up to 50 pounds, and production associates obtain operation and safety training in the use of hand tools to perform those essential functions. One of the things that I want to bring attention to is not only these job highlights, right, but some of the common HR or talent acquisition challenges include attendance and punctuality, while the employees see being comfortable with the shift work, including weekends and overtime, and the demands of the physical nature of the work as some of the busiest obstacles to succeed in the role. So again, as you start thinking about, is this training opportunity right for you? You want to start thinking about that part-time schedule, a shift schedule, the $14.60 per hour, right? But then also the career path opportunities. One of the things that we believe at the Navy Yard Skills Initiative is connecting folks to opportunities with career growth. And we fully believe that this Tasty opportunity is a position, although starting in part-time, that offers career growth. As you see on the next slide, the whole goal of this program and ultimately connecting folks to this production associate role is to connect folks to full-time employment, right? Full-time employees earn that $17 an hour. They become part of a union, a well-recognized union. They have stable schedules, they have paid time off, and they have benefits, including, right, things that we all love: medical, dental, a retirement plan. The other thing is that with that paid time off, we also have parental leave and holidays as well. And all those things add to a quality job. And as we think about, or as you think about, right, is this position, the right fit for you? We're thinking about, right, that part-time opportunity transitioning to full-time employment and all the things that come with a quality job. So let's talk a little bit about desired applicants, right? You can see the things on the left side of your screen. Those are things that Tasty has identified that are really helpful, that have been proven for folks to be successful in this role. And the other piece of it is on the right-hand side of the screen is eligibility for our program, right? In order to be eligible for this program to continue in the recruitment process, folks need to be Philadelphia residents. They have to have a high school diploma or GED, and eventually, if having the opportunity to interview for the Tastykake position through our program, you'll need to be able to pass a pre-employment drug test. We also look for some things that aren't on the screen. We look for folks who have a strong desire to attain and retain full-time permanent employment and are ready for that, right? We think about what the demands are to work multiple days per week, 40 hours a week, showing up every day on time. Folks also need to have reliable transportation to and from the worksite and classroom. And that can be public transit, that can be a car or another form, but ultimately folks need to figure out how to get to the Navy Yard for programming, which will start at 9 a.m. during that 3-week training. And then as you'll see on the next slide, shift times can vary. So getting down to the Navy Yard and having that reliable transportation is going to be something that we're looking for in candidates, not only for our program, but Tasty will be looking for as employees. And then the other piece too is, you saw in the video, you heard in some of these highlights, and as I talked about the job description, folks need to be capable of being on their feet, completing sometimes strenuous work, working long hours, and occasional, because it is a warehouse, right? In the summer, it's hot, and in the cold, it's cold. And again, feel free to use the chat if you have any questions, or else we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. Some important pieces to remember as you're thinking about, is the Tasty opportunity the right fit for me, right? Schedules are dictated by production needs. Typically, folks work either first, second, or third shift. In normal work days, will be 8 hours a day, excluding an unpaid lunch break, and then you'll have 2 paid 15-minute breaks. Weekends are sometimes required and are prescribed or asked by us on Thursday, and no more than 2 weekends in a row can be mandated. So as you're thinking about, does this opportunity work for me? You're thinking about what shift could potentially work for you. And some of the things that you'll learn if accepted into the program is that, Tasty is flexible. They want to know what shift is going to work best for you, and we'll ask your shift preference. Obviously, a lot of people like first shift, and maybe there might be fewer opportunities there, but ultimately, they're going to gather that information and set you up for success if you're going to be a quality employee. And then the other thing too, right? Those mandatory hours happen after that 90-day probationary period, and you'll know in advance of your shift. So let's talk a little bit about the program itself, right? We learned a lot about the job role. We learned about kind of the demands of not only the job and of the hours or shifts that are required, but ultimately, if you go through this recruitment process, submit an application, or interviewed, you'll be accepted into the program. And our program with our production associate program in partnership with Tasty will run from January 10th to January 28th. You'll see on the calendar on the left-hand side of your screen, that kind of gray box, January 17th. That's actually Martin Luther King Day. So that will be a day that the program is not in session. And you'll see this blue, you'll see the blue box on January 27th highlighted as well. And that day is highlighted because it's an exciting day in the program. That's interview day. One of the benefits of going through the production associate program is that you'll have the opportunity to interview for that production associate position during the program. And all things in the program will help and support you in being successful in that interview. During professional development, we focus on developing a growth mindset, problem-solving plans, and shifting our perspectives so that we can be successful throughout our career, not just in the Tastykake production associate position. Again, a couple things to note are that facilitated group conversations happen in person at the Navy Yard during this 3-week period. And that's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we have some, as you'll learn going through the recruitment process, right? We have standards and expectations. The expectation is you're there every day before 9 a.m. and ultimately staying through the entire training till 12 p.m. There's going to be some additional one-on-one and small group virtual meetings that happen outside of the classroom session during that 3-week period. And you can estimate that approximately 2 hours of daily reading and reflection exercise happen each day after the program is over. And then the other thing that's not on this calendar, if you go through this entire recruitment process, we'll invite you to a participant agreement meeting prior to that January 10th date. That will be on Thursday, January 6th, where you'll ultimately make the commitment to participate in the program. We'll do a deep dive into the standards and expectations of the program and ultimately have you sign that commitment letter that you're ready and interested in going through the 3-week program from January 10th through January 28th. So let's talk a little bit about the application process now. For many folks, you may have elected to hear this information session first to opt in, and then for other folks, you may have already submitted an application. And for those that have submitted an application, I want to say before I talk about the application steps, if you hear something that I talk about during this process and you're saying, I could have submitted a stronger application, I want to call out that you should do that. You should end this session and submit a stronger application if you're interested in doing that, so that you can participate or you have a higher probability of participating in this program. We don't mind that folks, after attending an information session, submit another application. We want to see kind of the strongest representation of you for your highest chances of getting selected for this program. Great, so let's talk a little bit. As some folks may have already done, you submit that online application. That can be found on our website. And Jen, if you could drop the link in the chat, that'd be great, just to reference, and then we'll show it to you at the end as well. But folks can go to our Navy Yard website, /workforce/jobs, and submit an online application. That application is ultimately going to ask you 3 things. It's going to ask you why you want to participate in the program. It's going to ask what additional skills or qualifications you're bringing. We're not looking for a specific answer, but we are looking for folks to fill that out thoughtfully. And if you're thinking, I don't have special skills or qualifications, right? We want to know what you're bringing to the table, and what is ultimately going to have you be successful throughout the program and a professional career. Those are the things we're interested in. It's not that I have multiple years of manufacturing experience or I have great communication skills. It could be a combination of all those things, but we're looking for folks to answer that question thoughtfully. And then ultimately the work history. We're looking for folks to submit and fill out their work history. Oftentimes folks skip that part. They might answer the first 2 questions and then not answer or fill out the work history. And ultimately we want to know that information. If you're doing those 3 things, it is an extremely high probability that you will have the opportunity to interview. And as you see on the next visual here, right? Submit that online application and then have the opportunity for that virtual interview. We'll schedule that stuff via email. You'll have the opportunity to pick from multiple dates and times to schedule that interview. And then ultimately you'll go through that interview process and submit some screening documents. And typically you can think of those as I-9 documents. We'll ask for that high school diploma or GED completion. We'll ask for your ID and some other documents as well. But ultimately, you'll have access to that information online and can just simply take a picture on your phone and upload those for us to view. After your interview, we'll send you a reading assessment. We'll ask folks to complete that reading assessment. And again, this is a multi-step process in order to find the candidates that we need. Folks will be sent that assessment link online. You'll complete that. And alternately, based off of the scores from the reading assessment and the combination of your interview and submitting all your screening docs, you'll be asked to attend our participant agreement on Thursday, January 6th, where you're really opting into the program there, learning everything and preparing for that January 10th start date. Alternately, when you sign that participant agreement meeting, you will then start the program on January 10th, engage in that 3-week professional development training. And as we talked about in the previous slide in that calendar, enter and compete and have the opportunity to interview for those Tastykake positions. One of the things I want to call out right now too is that one of the benefits of our program is that our cohort size, all the folks that we let into the program, there's enough opportunities to be hired for everyone in the program to be hired by Tastykake. Excuse me for mumbling through that. But ultimately, everyone who's accepted into the program will have the opportunity to interview for an open position at Tastykake. Folks are not competing against each other for these opportunities. If we have a direct relationship with Tastykake, you're actually going to meet one of their staff members right after this, and we'll open it up for Q&A. But there's opportunities for everyone to be hired by Tastykake. It's one of the benefits of going through our program, learning the ins and outs. I can see Josh Park just dropped something in the chat. He said, exciting news, 100% of program participants can be hired, right? Again, a benefit of the program. Not only do you get that insider information, if you will, to prepare for that interview that happens during the program, but there is an opportunity for you to be hired because there's an opening for you within Tastykake. Great. So I've talked a ton. You guys engaged in the chat. You told me all of the things that you enjoy about Tastykake, specifically the cakes and pies and crimpets and all of those things. But what we want to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're actually going to hear from Deotis Caroline in Human Resources and ask him some questions about what it's like to work for Tasty. And ultimately, there's 2 things that you're thinking about as a program participant or going through this recruitment process, right? You're interested in completing a 3-week program, but then ultimately the job connection to Tastykake, and is it the right fit for you? So instead of me talking about it, talking about what a great opportunity is, let's hear from Deotis. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll see Deotis on camera. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
All right. So if you feel comfortable and you're in this information session right now, you want to turn on your camera, that would be amazing, just because we'd love to see all of your faces. You'll probably have the opportunity to interview for the program associate position, and potentially at the end of the program, you'll have the opportunity to interview directly with Deotis, who we're going to chat with right now. So Deotis, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing? How's it going?
Doing good.
Good.
Awesome. So Dios, thanks for taking a couple minutes to chat with us. I did a deep dive, as you just saw, into the production associate position and Tastykake, but ultimately, I don't work there, right? And we want to hear from you. So I think let's start by just asking you, what does it take to be successful as a production associate at Tasty?
Yeah. So again, I want to just appreciate everybody, coming on today, and AJ and Jen, and I appreciate you guys, PIDC, with this great opportunity that we have. So to answer your question, it's real simple. It's not difficult at all. Right. We're just looking for individuals that, are coachable individuals. There are individuals that are, eager, to work and work hard. And that's basically it. I mean, the brand speaks for itself. And that's it. That's basically what we need. That's basically what we're looking for.
And what parts of the work at Tasty tend to be the most difficult for new associates? And how does your team provide support for them?
So to take the end the question more, so we do have a training program. So we have a training program. Well, depending on if you're in production, where 4 weeks, or if it's sanitation, it'll be 3 weeks. But we'll train you, right? One of the most things that's maybe difficult is that we're so unique. All right, so there's no other Tastykakes. Right. So regardless if you worked at another bakery, I like some of the stuff that I saw in the chat where, crimpets, it's only one place that's making crimpets. Right. So it's individuals not understanding, what the bakery has intel, but more specifically what we do uniquely. But again, we will support that. You'll have trainers that will train you. For those 3 or 4, week periods of time.
That's excellent. And what have you individually enjoyed most about working at Tasty?
The thing I enjoy most is the culture and the diversity that we have here in our organization. That's something that that's really important to me. It's something that keeps me striving and also learning a lot of different things as well. I've been here for 9 years. It'll be 9 years in March. And, it's just something that's different, every day, which also is a cool thing. It's something that we look at as different every day. But, to answer that, it's more of the diversity in the culture that we have here.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then how does Tasty keep its employees safe working in this advanced manufacturing facility, as we saw in the video and throughout the images?
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Now we're still dealing with this COVID situation. I'm pretty sure individuals have, thoughts about that, but we keep, just speaking of the COVID, we make sure that, we keep our 6 feet, 10 feet, situation that we have. And, we make sure that we have borders where we need to have borders at. We have surveys where individuals will sign off on. We're actually looking to have, free vaccinations, plans coming into our plant, soon. So we're actually working on a survey, and it's interesting to see that about 60 to 70% of our employees that are here now are fully vaccinated, which is cool. I didn't know that until, after doing the survey, but that's something that's cool, but we'll still bring that in. Again, it's not we don't force you to do it, but, at least want to have, that service. So you don't have to schedule trying to go somewhere else. But we also have a good safety program, which we actually have the employees that's on the actual safety team. So we will ask, from day one, hey, look, any individual, that wants to come onto the safety team, we'll have you, involved in the safety team, where we will actually meet, with members of safety as well as superintendents, once a week. And then you'll work closely with the manager of the management team, who's on the safety team as well. So that's something that we keep very important, and we basically meet once or twice. Actually, we 2 to 3 times a week, just to talk about any safety concerns that may be happening. So the reason why we have the employees of safety committee is you're the ones that's doing the work, right? You're the ones that's walking around every day looking to see if there's some issues. And sometimes, as management, we don't see it all the time. So if there's something that you see, you'll bring it to the safety committee or bring it yourself, and then we'll work through that each week.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And one thing I want to call out too to our folks listening in and thinking about participating in the program, ultimately getting connected to a tasty opportunity, is that one of the requirements for our program is that folks will need to be fully vaccinated by our January 6th participant agreement meeting. So if you're thinking about this program, submitting an application, one of the things that we'll talk about if you have the opportunity to interview is making sure that you're fully vaccinated by that January 6th date. So we can talk more about that one-on-one and as we go through the interview process, but you all should know that up front as well.
Yep, cool.
And then Diotis, can you tell us a little bit about the career opportunities at Tasty? As I talked about, this is a part-time production role, but the goal is to connect folks to a full-time opportunity. But at large, can you talk about the career opportunities at Tasty?
Yeah, that's cool. So even with myself, let's talk about me. Myself, I worked in operations for 3 years. So I started in HR, worked in operations for 3 years, and now I'm back in HR. So just like I was able to move around. There's the same thing where employees can move around as well. So you usually start individuals. We start as AJ mentioned, start them at part time. So we start at a part time opportunity, and I will say now the full time opportunities are coming fairly quickly. As I told AJ before, I don't like to always put a time frame on there, but they are coming quickly, which is like less than 6 months, at this point. So we have different areas. So you have or I should say rooms of improvement to move up. So we have your part-time, you have your opportunities for, as I mentioned, the full-time, then you have your lead, as AJ mentioned earlier, today. We have situations where you can actually be a trainer, right? So you can be a lead, and then which will get like a premium, higher pay, which is probably like $1.50, cents more an hour more. But then you can also be a trainer, which is the same, rate as well. And then after the lead opportunity, then you can move up to a supervisor, opportunity. We have, I want to say in the last year and a half, we've had about 5 new supervisors who moved up, from part-time all the way up to, a supervisor role. And then after your supervisor role, then, the sky's the limit, your managers, superintendents, we always like to hire within, so if you are, what I mentioned to you earlier, if you're coachable, if you're a hard worker, we'll look at that. We'll recognize that, right away. And as I mentioned, this is a situation where you can definitely move up. So
that's excellent. Diotis, is there anything that you want to share with us? That's all the prescribed questions I have, but is there anything that you want to share that maybe I didn't hit on during the presentation or is top of mind right now that'd be great for a job seeker to think about?
Right. So, yeah, we've all heard Tastykake, right? We've all looked at the nice little video. I remember that day too. I was there. They didn't get me on the screen, but I was there. I was probably right next to the person I was talking. This is Tastykake, right? This is what you see out, in the field is what you will see here. This is a good culture. This is good individuals that work here. They've been here for a long amount of time. We're looking at 24 to 25 year tenure that we have here. That says a lot, for our organization, because people want to stay for a long time. That's something that I'm proud of. That's something that I like to work through every day. So it's not only about working, it's about the relationships that we have with the employees, right? When I walk down the hallway, I can, talk to every individual that's in the hallway. So that's good relationships that we have. And that's something that we, pride ourselves, on. We want to make sure that this is a fun place to work. Right now, it's not. I'm not gonna always say it's easy stuff, right? But it's a fun place, to work.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think
absolutely,
it's easy for me to share a bunch of information, but hearing it from you is so much more important. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna stop highlighting you or spotlighting you, and just we should be able to see everybody now. Jen, can you help me out with that? Or maybe that's how.
We're good. And there was a question in the chat for Diotis, from Nate. How long does it take to move up?
Hey, Nate, how's it going, man? Good question. It depends on, what the situation is, right? It depends on some of the business, where we're at with the business. And then it also depends on you, right? It depends on you. So we have what we call a bid process. So we have a bid process, which there is once you come in, you interview, once you're in, there's not too many interviews you have to, do after that, unless you want to move into a management role. Okay. So, but if you want to move up for, to the next level, as far as a full-time employee or lead or, a trainer, you just fill out a bid form. No interviews. We go by seniority. All right. And you would have to fill out that easy, a bid form. And again, it goes by, seniority. So it depends. I've had a group. I'll be honest with you, I've had a group who started, with me in my new hiring orientation. They came in as part-timers the first day, and then that second day they left out as full-time employees, right? So it depends on, what the business is, what the need is. Right now we have a big need, so we're looking at it as being much quicker than it would be, any other time. We're also going into the second phase of our busy time, which is, Easter, right? So we got to get prepared for that. We got to make sure people are trained. Even though Easter is, a couple months, several months away, we got to prepare for that. We got to prepare for that, making sure that individuals and employees know, the work that they're doing. So Nate, that was a good question.
That's great. And again, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question directly or continue to use the chat. We have another one in there that says, for hourly workers, are folks paid bi-weekly or weekly?
Weekly. Thank God, right? That's a good thing, right? Thank God. It depends on, we paid every Thursday. It depends on your bank. If you got a good bank, it comes Wednesday like mine, right? So it's a good thing. So you have a new hire orientation, for 2 days. That next week you'll be getting paid, for new hire orientation. So every week we get paid, which is a cool thing.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
And again, feel free to unmute yourself, ask any questions that you'd like, or drop them in the chat. We have Diotis for a few more minutes. Yeah.
I have a question. What are the main responsibilities of the production associate that you oversee in order for them to be promoted?
Right. Good question, Lee. How's it going, buddy? So the main responsibilities is just to ensure first, and I think AJ hit this, make sure you're available on that line, right? So we have seven production lines, right? So 6 of them are cake, and the one is a pie line. So I know that someone mentioned that pies is good. So we have one line, directly, promoted for pies. And we have about, I want to say 12 positions on each specific line. Okay. So on that position, you may have, and then what I'm mentioning now may be a little foreign to you if you haven't, worked in a bakery, but you'll have like an inspector position, that inspects the cake. You have a weigher that actually weighs the cake. Then you have a wrapper that actually wraps the cake. You have a hopper that, so to your question, to be promotable, you would want to know, most of those positions on that line, because if there's a hourly employee that may be calling out, you may have to pitch in a little bit. It's good to know, but also, it's good to know that as well, because if you need to help, train someone that's coming in, you want to know that you have a good roundabout knowledge of, each position that's on the line.
And Diotis, one of the follow-up that I have too, can you talk a little bit about the flexibility that a part-time employee may need to have to really bid for those extra hours?
Right. So let's talk about that. All right. So most people, I think in America and the world, they want to work full-time, right? Right.
Right. I see some head nods.
Right. So listen, just because we talk about part-time, don't let that, get you into a position like, oh, that's not enough hours. I will tell you right now, we have about 600 employees that's in here. About 3 employees, they choose to want to work part-time hours for whatever reason, may have a spouse that they work. That's it. Most employees is going to be here. It's going to work here. Is going to, work 5 days. You have the opportunity to always sign up for extra days, for overtime. You have that opportunity to do that. Most employees in here are all working 5 days, a week, right? We have that in there as far as that part-time, the trial period. Make sure we know that you're going to be a good fit into the bakery, right? We also have shift differentials, right? So we have a shift differential after 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then we also have a larger shift differential, which is, from 10 p.m. To 6 a.m. So if you are a individual that loves working night shift, that's a plus, right? That's a plus. But yeah, don't let that, get you into a position where like, oh, wow, it's not enough hours. You will have enough hours. I've just walked past about 4 individuals, before coming into this meeting today, and they all work night shift, and they're here to, get extra money. You know why, right? It was December 25th is coming up. Right. So don't let that get you a position where, you're saying, wow, I'm only working, 3 days. You will have, the opportunity, to work more days. And then once you become full-time, right? Because that's where we're going to get to. Once you become full-time, then you're guaranteed, a minimum of 5 hours. I'm sorry, 5 days. I apologize. 5 days.
Thank you very much for that clarity. That's super helpful. Jeffrey, I saw you unmuted yourself. Do you have a question?
Well, I got here a little late, so I'm probably going to take this session again. You have another one, December the 9th. So I'm just going to sit back and observe and listen.
Okay, that sounds great. And yeah, please feel free to join on the 9th. We'll do the same thing over again. So thank you very much. Any other questions, either in the chat or unmute yourself? This is the time to talk to directly with likely the person, if you're accepted into the program, that will be interviewing you. So a great time to get some FaceTime.
I wanted to go back to the conversation about the different lines and stuff. Do you guys rotate according to schedule, or is it just when you come in, you're stationary there until whoever can fill in the next day if you decide to call out or whatever the case may be?
Lee, I see you're going to be the supervisor soon, man. You answered some good questions. I like that. I like that. Hey, good question. Good question. So as I mentioned, we have 7 lines. We have 6 cake lines and, 1 pie line. I don't know if I think I mentioned, just an inspector for, let's look at an inspector. Again, inspector, their main focus is to inspect the cake, right? So if you're an inspector on line 10, you can inspect probably on line 20, 30, 40, and 50, right? It's the same type of work, right? Maybe some differences, on different lines, and the reason why we do that is if we have a call out or if there's, another line that we want to bring up. But we will have, so Lee, so say for instance, you're working on what we call line 10, right? And line 10 is the candy cake line. This will be your respective line that you will mostly go to every single day, right? However, if there's a call out, right, we may need to rotate you. We've got to make sure the lines are still running. You guys still want those honey buns, those pies, those butterscotch crimpets that you guys mentioned, right? So we'll still have you on your own line that you have that you work on all the time, unless if there's like a call out or we want to start up another line, right? ShopRite may say, hey, look, we want 10,000 cases of pies, right? And if we don't have that line running, we got to figure out a way to get that running. So we want to make sure ShopRite, and their customers are happy. Good question, Lee.
Yeah, very good. Any others while we round it out here? And again, it was just dropped in the chat too. This session is going to be recorded. You can happily rewatch it. We'll have it posted to our Navy Yard website, which I'm going to drop in the chat right now. And then also, if you have any direct questions for me about the program and don't feel comfortable asking them now or think of something later, feel free to email the email that I'm about to drop in the chat as well. It's going to be our workforce email. Feel free to email that, ask me something. I manage that workforce account, and I'm happy to answer any questions one-on-one as well.
What else I got?
That's right.
I want to see that. I want to see that chat. I want to see that later interview. So I can watch the film again. That's what I want to see. I want to see the You got that.
Yeah, I can get you that video. I'll drop it in the chat for everybody. That's totally fine.
All right, that'll work.
I think something else came through, right?
I was dropping some information in the chat, just where to apply for the job, and then the email address to reach me at directly if they have any follow-up questions. But this was extremely helpful, and thank.
So Nate, you sent me a question. I saw you sent me a question. You asked me what made me work for the company, right? So good question. What made me work for the company, first of all, was the brand, right? That was the brand. It was Tastykake. But I remember during my interviewing process, as I mentioned earlier, I saw that it was a family-oriented, organization. Right. I came from a big organization before I started here, and it was more of, the numbers and stuff like that. That's how they knew. Here, they knew you by name, and I wanted to be involved into that. And that's something that is still, after almost 9 years, that still stays holds to that to when I started in interviewing the process, 9 years ago. So, good question.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of, there's a lot of good things that's happening, right? When I first started, about 9 years ago, we're regional. Now we're national. We're a national company where we're up to from Vermont, Maine, down to Texas, all the way over to Los Angeles, California, Washington, Seattle. So we're everywhere. And what that does is that, brings a lot of opportunity to, folks in, Philadelphia, where we're at and where we're located. For good, paying, jobs and careers. So this is a good thing. The time I've been here, it has changed and changed for the better, right? When I was younger, when I was younger, I thought Tastykake was everywhere until I came here, right? Now it's everywhere. So that's a true statement at this point. So it's a good time to come into, to this company. And as I mentioned, we do have we have about 25% of our workforce. They're on the point of retirement, right? So that, again, that brings another opportunity for other individuals to move up. The more they're retired, it's more of those full-time jobs coming up. So.
Well, great. I want to thank everyone for attending the session today. If you don't have any other questions, again, we just dropped a bunch of information in the chat, not only the website where to apply, the workforce email where you can directly connect with me with any questions that you have. And then if you want to review that tasty video that we watched in the session, that link is there as well. And again, that video is important just to see what that environment looks like to work in such a expansive facility. So check it out, even if you want to just rewatch it again. And also, Diotis, we want to thank you tremendously for your time. We really appreciate it. It's great to hear from you, your unique lens, and obviously the wealth of knowledge that you have over 9 years with the company. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Hey, I got one message. Someone asked me when I'm going to plan to retire. I got a long way to go. I know the gray hair is still there, but I'm still kind of young. I got a little long time. I got about 15 years in.
Amazing. We love it. Folks can start leaving this session as you want to. Some of our staff will hang around. Diotis may even hang around for a minute too, but you're free to leave on your own accord. And yeah, we look forward to you applying or sharing the good word about this program and opportunity.
And I appreciate the opportunity as well.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Nate, and thanks for being engaged the whole time.
Yep,
no problem.